Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Yes, do not adjust your dials, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. It's your boy Trey Not Young, and I am back after quite a bit of a hiatus. Now, I'm pretty sure you all are wondering, like, what the hell happened? Where have I been? And to be frank, I have been rebuilding my life over the past few months because I unfortunately got laid off in early to mid-November. Yeah. I got laid off from a job that I had spent close to a decade at and had really did a lot to really help build that company up from, its startup position to its more global enterprise type solution, if you will. Like I said, I'd spent more than a decade there, and I honestly did not have many intentions on kind of like moving on from there. Like I kind of had a long-term vision of staying there post when my kids graduated from college, and then kind of figuring out life from there and what I wanted to do from there to ride out into the horizon, if you will. But I unfortunately got laid off in early to mid-November. Now, after the initial layoff, I spent a couple of weeks to just kind of decompress and allow my nervous system to reset, because kind of facing something like that in today's society is rather detrimental. And also, honestly, being in a position of having a career and then kind of having that taken away from you in your 40s, it could be a daunting feeling, if you will. So I took some time off, decompress, regulated my nervous system, went to my Thanksgiving family get-togethers, just kind of as normal, kind of just took in the moment and kind of embraced where I was at, and then started diving into the job hunt in December. And here we are in fucking mid-February, and I am still currently looking for full-time employment. It is a mess out there in the world. For those of you who are unaware or have been living under a rock or not paying attention, America is in quite a bit of a tizzy, if you will, for a wide variety of reasons. One of the things, honestly, when it comes to the U.S. job market, the job market is pretty bad right now. I know y'all's boy Trump has done a great job with his administration and with bullying a bunch of organizations around the nation to stop reporting on certain numbers to make sure that him and his team can kind of control the narrative of how things are going. But it was announced that about over 100,000 layoffs happened in the month of December, which was up 118% from the same period a year ago, and that 205% from December 2025. The total marked essentially the highest for any January. So it was over 100,000 people that got laid off in the month of January 2026, which was up damn near another 100% from what the layoffs were in December 2025. I was laid off in November of 2025, and those numbers were quite high. It's been a lot of layoffs just around the country, as a lot of companies are kind of concerned and being very risk adverse with trying to figure out what tomorrow looks like for the economy. You have the tariffs, you have the situation with the global economy and our relations with other nations. You have several countries around the world who are getting away from the US dollar as being the universal standard for monetization. There's a lot going on, and then quite frankly, America is as close as ever to its second civil war. So it's a lot of uncertainty going on. And me being someone who I spent the last 10 years in tech, one of the other big things going on right now is the AI bubble that is in the midst of crashing currently right now. There's a variety of items that kind of is caught inside of that AI bubble, if you will. There's a lot of companies who are trying to create systems and purchase systems to help them automate certain entry-level positions away, try to automate certain tasks, as they would like to say, that are monotonous. But quite frankly, we live in a capitalistic society, so a lot of companies are trying to purchase these AI tools, which it's this upfront cost, which then in the long run you could then automate away some human labor to then be able to shrink your job force to have to pay less and less people to maximize your profits. And a lot of that started about a year to 2, maybe 3 years ago, as like Copilot and Gemini and a lot of other AI software started to get introduced by Microsoft and some of these other companies. And a lot of businesses started investing in those AI technologies, and they spent a lot of money up front. And over the course of the first year to 2, a lot of that technology is still in its infancy, so it's still not quite in a place where you could really, it's helping certain people in certain positions to become more efficient, but it's not actually helping them to be able to automate some jobs away. So then, as companies are having to do when you come to the end of that fiscal year, it's like, man, we just spent all this money up front for these AI tools, and then we're not able to like automate jobs away. So now we're in the red because we spent so much money on these internal systems. And so you have that side of the AI bubble popping, where the company that I worked for and a bunch of different companies going into the end of 2025 end up laying off a lot of their workforce to get out of the red for all the AI investments they had made over the years. And furthermore, the other challenge, and we just saw that this week when the Dow Jones dropped to under 50,000, and I think the U.S. stock market lost close to, or it might have been around $1 trillion, because you had a bunch of people pulling stock from Nvidia and from a lot of these different tech companies and a lot of these different stock options, if you will. A bunch of people started pulling money because of the fear of AI and the uncertainty of what that looks like for the workforce going forward. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways different people are attempting to use AI. I remember one day after I had got off work, I was heading home and I was hungry. So I saw this Rallies, and I love Rallies. And the people who are not in Arizona, I think out east is called Checkers, but I know out here, out in AZ, the name of the company is Rallies. But I stopped by Rallies to get a burger, and when I pulled up, the drive-through ordering system, the person talking to you, it's AI. And it does its AI introduction. And I know the company introduced that because then you can guarantee whatever your daily deals are, whatever you're trying to push, that AI robot is 100% of the time always going to say those company slogans and those company upsells that they're looking for, as opposed to a human, depending on how the human is doing, after 4 or 5 hours of trying to upsell the same thing, they're just gonna kind of stop asking if they keep getting the no. And so you as a business, you want to automate that and add that to AI, because AI doesn't care if you say no 1,000,000 times. It's going to continue to ask the 1,000,001 customer that pulls up. But I just remember being kind of taken aback as I got up there, and it's like it's an AI automation system that's asking you questions. And a lot of these businesses are doing that with their auto attendants, where you call into a company, and all of them used to be pre-recorded messages, or press 1 to get here, press 2 to get there. And now a lot of these companies are adding a lot of these natural language processing models, where they could depending on the what you say to it, then it kind of tries to guide you where it's supposed to go. And then there's also, a lot of people don't know, there's a lot of these AI tools that are looking for certain keywords and certain tones in your voice to see if there's some type of sense of urgency or some type of sense of concern. So then they could kind of predetermine what your sentiment is and where exactly you need to get transferred to. And so the world is just kind of changing from an AI perspective. And like I said, as a result, unfortunately, the tech industry got hit pretty hard this past year with losing a bunch of money from the upfront costs with AI and not really reaping the benefits of any type of additional financial bump. You know, they kind of don't care about the efficiency of employees going up. They're just going to task you with more work, and they're just not really making a lot of money. So they're cutting costs to get out of the red, and they're going to continue to further invest into these items because, again, we live in a capitalistic society, and businesses, quite frankly, function as a cancer. They're not looking to better people's lives. They're looking to maximize their profit. And you could be a company that, you know, makes $1 million in its, you know, first couple of years, and then going into that next year, you're expected to make more money, and you could have a boom and, oh my God, now we're in year 4 and we just made $10 million. That's fantastic. Then you go into the year after that and you may drop down to 2 million, and that is viewed as a bad trend for the company, when in reality, you know, originally your average per year, you were making $1 million per year. And yes, you did have that 1 year where you had that bump where you went up to 10 million, but like your average is actually 1 million per year. But now that 2 million is viewed as bad because you're not hitting that peak that you hit that one time. And then so now, from the eyes of capitalism, you guys are a failure, even though, again, you are performing above average. It's a lot of things like that is the reason why capitalism is a cancer. And it's part of the reason why, too, you're seeing a lot of these monopolization of different corporations and different companies. There's a lot of companies where that's essentially what they do, is they grow, and then they hit a point where they've kind of dominated the market share, and there's not really a way to make any more money. So then what do? You then go and you buy your competitors, and then when you buy your competitors, then you could inflate those numbers more, and then you just continue to buy out all of your competitors until you're the only show, you know, in town, if you will. And then when you're in the only show in town, you can't buy anybody else up, and then the market share is kind of full. You guys have all the customers in the world. Okay, all right, we got to mark the price up on our customers because we need something to continue to show that growth, because that's all capitalism as a cancer cares about, is growing and growing and growing. And their viewpoint is, you know, who gives a damn if the customers are upset and if the cost of living is getting too high and if people are scraping to try to survive. Who cares? I need to hit these numbers. I need to continue to grow this cancer, which is my capitalistic company. So, yeah. So that's where I've been. Yeah. I have been on the job hunt, and I have been just trying to hang on. I spent the first, I guess you could say, phase of my job hunt looking within a 20-mile radius of where I live, looking into remote jobs, even looking into like remote contract jobs where you get, you know, paid for different, you know, like contracts, different things like that. And just not having any luck at all. And a lot of that too comes from, this is new to me, being in a situation where I think the last time I was on an actual job hunt was maybe like 15 years ago. So it had been quite a bit of time since the last time I had actually applied and looked for a job. And the whole process of the job hunt is crazy nowadays. So, you know, we don't live in the 80s and 90s anymore where you could just, you know, walk up to a company and, hey, let me hand you my resume and who can I talk to try to schedule an interview. Like, everything is for the most part online nowadays, and you have to go through Indeed and Glassdoors and ZipRecruiter and some of these different online companies where unfortunately it's you and hundreds of people just putting in applications left and right. So then going back to AI, what a lot of these companies are doing is it's not a human that's sitting there reading the applications of the hundreds of people who, you know, submitted applications. They don't have enough hours in the day to do that. So these people are employing AI tools that then look up certain keywords, and if you don't have the right keyword for the right position that you're applying for, they're auto closing out your job applications. I remember I had saw this woman on TikTok actually, and it was I think it was shortly after Christmas, and she was talking about her experience kind of in the same boat of looking for a job throughout the holidays, and she, you know, had applied to a bunch of places, and she was talking about how on Christmas she got a bunch of kind of rejections on some emails or some job applications from some companies. And she was like, you know, there's no way in hell somebody is working at 6 p.m. on a Christmas. Like, this is some type of automation software that's closing stuff out, and, you know, it's not even humans looking at this stuff. Then furthermore, with submitting applications, which has been interesting, is there's a lot of places where, because as I, you know, putting in all these applications through all these different job websites, like I said, like Indeed and LinkedIn and different things like that, I started going to some of the direct websites to kind of apply over there too, to try to see if I can get a better shot. But kind of same thing, they're employing these AI tools over there too, looking for certain keywords and, you know, different things like that. But then also there's a lot of different jobs on there where you will go to whatever the job profile is on those job websites, and then it would guide you to the company profile. And then when you go to that company's external website, then you have to create a profile within their job system, and then you have to apply directly over there. And so then now you're creating all these different profiles. So then now you got, you know, 50, 70 profiles of all these different companies all over the place on top of the profiles that you already have with LinkedIn and with Glassdoor and Indeed and all this stuff. And one of the other challenges I started running into was I started getting like an influx of emails from like notifications of, hey, did you check out this job? Or, oh, hey, you know, we decided to go forward with a different applicant, not yours. And, oh, hey, you know, you signed up to our job board through you know, through our system. Here's some other jobs you should think about, you know, taking a look at in the meantime. You just get a influx of all of these email notifications that I then started getting a bunch of stuff funneling over to spam, and I almost missed a interview opportunity because I had like 300 emails personally in my personal email. I had all these emails from all these different job things that these automated job responses, if you will, that I didn't even catch the actual fucking human reached out to me to schedule an interview. And I saw it like 3 days later. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I didn't see it, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I had to follow up and schedule a follow-up interview. But it's been crazy. And the other thing that has been extremely interesting that is it's been around, but I see they have evolved this now. They always have that voluntary identification thing where it's like, hey, you know, what is your race? Are you Hispanic? And, you know, ask these different questions. And then it was interesting because I started to notice that now there are a lot of companies who are asking what your sexual orientation is. That's fucking crazy.